Today we are going to look at reporting and dashboards within ServiceNow. So, as you can see on this is just a developer instance that I'm working from. We're just in the home page, so standard login as you would into ServiceNow. And we're going to look for, we're going to start off with reports. So after searching reports in the filter navigator, we're going to scroll down and we're going to start off from looking at the existing reports that are on the system. And we could, at this point, if you wanted to create a report, could use create new, but for now, let's just have a look at the list of reports that are already in the system. So the beneficial thing about ServiceNow is that out of the box, when you install various plugins, you will be presented and given the options to use some of the out-of-the-box reports that come. And you will, as you see, the list is quite long. Within here, there's 686 reports, fresh out-of-the-box instance that's running a couple of different products. So in order to create a new report, we have a couple of options. Like I said before, you can use this option on the left-hand side to create a new report directly from the filter navigator. Equally, we can go to the top right here and create a report. So we're going to click on this. Once we've clicked create a report, we'll be taken to this create a report screen. And as you can see, you've kind of got four main steps. So we'll go through those one by one. The first one that we'll focus on is around what report you want to be what you want to be making, what data do you want to go into that report. So first things first, I think we're going to do some reporting around the HR profiles. So within ServiceNow, there are a few source types of data. We'll probably cover data sources in another video. For now, we're going to focus on tables. So a table within ServiceNow is kind of the core building blocks. It's what all of your data stored in. It's like a dynamic spreadsheet or a database. So this is one of the hardest things to get your head around when you're starting to understand reports within ServiceNow. And I will quickly show you kind of one way that I get my head around it. So, like I said before, we're going to be working off the HR profile, and I suppose the question that will come is, how do I know that that is the table that I want to be pointing to? And the main question that I think you've got to ask yourself first is, what exactly do you want to be reporting on? So take this scenario here. So I'm going to bring up a list of all of the HR profiles. On here, you've got some basic fields. As I've shown previously, you can choose which options and which fields are shown within this list. But let's keep it simple. Let's have a look at the information that's on the screen right now. And a good use case would be wanting to see a breakdown of the number of people in departments. So I'm on a list. I want to know how many people are in each department. And in the top left-hand corner, you can see that this is the HR profiles table. So now we know which table we want to point towards. We can navigate back to the create a report tab. And let's just put in department breakdown. The source type is table, like we said before. And the table that we're going to select is the HR profile table. So let's search for HR profile. And as you can see, that's come up straight away. If we just remove that, just to show you what else I'll show, and this is slightly skewed because I've got the system admin role, so you endlessly flick through this list to find all of the various tables within ServiceNow. So let's choose the HR profile. And one good thing that you'll start to see when you start using the system a lot more is that once you've used a table, that will show on the next time you select it, select the table option, your recently selected table. So there's a good chance that for you as an individual user, you're only going to be using 3 or 4 different tables to do your reports on. So after you've got your head around it the first time, and started really getting familiar with the data that's sat within there, there's a pretty good chance that that's going to be one of your regular tables that you're going to point to, and ServiceNow will help you with that. We've selected our table. The next thing to do is click Next, and this will take you to the next stage, so type. So this should be fairly self-explanatory. It's the next question you've got to ask yourself is, what type of information or report do I want to show? So it'll always default to this list view, which you'll be very familiar with from accessing on different parts of the system. It'll have some kind of standard columns, no filters applied to it, but we'll talk about that in a little bit later. So along the left hand side, you will see that you've got some various options of different visualizations. You've got your bar charts, and again, there's different flavors within there. You've got pie and donut charts. You've got time series. You can also build out like single scores, for example. So if we wanted to do a single score of the number of people who are in the customer support department, we could do that. So my recommendation when it comes to reports and how to visualize it is have a bit of a play around, just to see how it kind of all looks, what your preferences are, and then from that point onwards, you can kind of decide exactly how you want to visualize whatever reports that you want to build. So for me, I'm gonna focus on just a standard bar chart. So I'm going to select bar chart, and this is going to take me to the next option, which is configure. So now we're in this configuration. So what does that mean? That's great. I've kind of decided where I want to point to with my data, where I want to grab that data from. I've decided what the report needs to look like, so what that visualization is going to be. And now it's actually making it show the data that I want to show. So you've got a couple of options here. We've got we'll go from the top. So we've got, first, it's group by. So that is how you would see it as your x-axis, so the axis along the bottom. And at the moment, it's just defaulted to the first field alphabetically within that table, which is contingent. So that's a true or false field. So everything at the moment is shown false. And some of this might look a bit funny because it's demo data, and it might not be complete, but again, I'll show you how to take out some of that empty data as well. So we're going to be reporting on departments, so the department breakdown. So as you can see, as we go down this list, you can't see department. And at this point, you're probably thinking, where is this field that we're trying to report on? So this is where we introduce something that ServiceNow calls dot walking, and this effectively means that you might want to reference a field on another table. And in this case, it's actually on the user table. So because it's a brand new instance, this relationship is between department and user is just out of the box. It might not make much sense in terms of organisationally, but it's typically tied into Active Directory and user provisioning. So just for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll show you how to get to that department field through dot walking on the user table. So helpfully, ServiceNow will give you an indication that there are other fields that you can get from another table by presenting you with this arrow. So as we'll have been scrolling through, you'll have seen these arrows on the right hand side. So in order to get to this of the field, what we do is we just click on this arrow, and in a second you will then be presented with a list of lots of other fields that you can then use to, in this case, group by. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to select department, and if you really wanted to, you could drill down into that department table as well. But we're just going to click department here, and at first you'll see that nothing's changed. So you're probably thinking, have I done something wrong? But no, don't worry. All you need to do is click run. And as you can see, you're now presented with a bar chart with the departments grouped along the bottom. So I'll show you a couple of things at this point, just after we've grouped it. So any reports within ServiceNow, you can actually drill down into that data. So if we click on here, that is going to bring up a list of HR profiles where the user department is sales. This is obviously really useful when you're running through the reports, you want to drill down into specific data, you want to update it on the fly, and from here you can navigate into your records. So now we've kind of just shown you about drilling down into that data. Let's just go back to this report, and because I've saved this previously, we've come back and the information is still there. So as you can see, again, you've got your departments on the bottom and the number of HR profiles within those departments. There's other additional groupings that you can do, but we'll keep it simple for the purpose of this demonstration. The other thing that you can do, which is quite useful, is to show differences or show further filtering within those bars. And a little bit like the example above about the dot walking on the user record, we are going to drill down into this user record and we're going to select gender. So what we should get in a minute, if we run this again, we'll see a breakdown of the genders that are against these HR profiles within the department. So as you can see, you've got a nice set of data shown on your departments, but also within there you have that gender breakdown stacked, or if we can group it as well so it looks slightly different in terms of visualization. So again, it's a personal preference. I prefer the stacked look because it's just a little bit neater. But again, within those, you're able to drill down. So if we were to click into here, you would be able to see a filtered list of HR profiles where the gender is female and the department is sales. So another thing that is worth calling out here is that within the data, you can see that there are a number of records that have got empty against the two fields that we've grouped and stacked by. So this is a good opportunity to show you a little bit about filtering as well. So in the top left-hand corner of the report view, we've got this little funnel, and what we can do here is if we click on it, we can add a number of conditions to filter out the data. So again, it's another way of manipulating your reports to really show the information that is relevant. So what we'll do is just for the purpose of this, to keep it simple, we will get rid of the records where the department is not empty. So when you click on this kind of filter condition here, you're given a number of options. So there's some really useful conditions within here, and again, it's worth trying different things when you're creating these reports, but also thinking exactly what data you want to show. So let's put the user department is not empty, and to make sure that we don't get the other ones as well. On gender, we'll go to user, we'll go to gender, and we'll put is not none. So you've not got the empty records filtered here. The colours have changed a little bit because you're not showing the HR profiles with those empty values or none as the gender, as no selection has been made. So you can use that to filter out any data which hasn't been filled in correctly, but also you could do it for other conditions. So you could add in if you had a multinational organisation, you could do where those HR profiles are based in the UK, for example. So you've got a lot of power, and again, it's about defining what those conditions are and what data you're trying to show. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly save this to make sure that it has been saved properly. And the last thing that we will show, so we have set up our the title, what data we're pointing to, how you want to visualize it, and then configured what you want to show within this report. So the final piece of the puzzle is to configure how you want the report to look. So with this, it's fairly standard. You've got some options about changing the colours. So if you click on this magnifying glass, you'll have plenty of options within the colour schemes. So seeing lots of different ones. Let's go orange is dark to light. We'll run that and it will change the colours you can see, and you can set up different palettes. So if you have some corporate branding guidelines, then that can be updated to include that. We've got the ability to put data labels on and where they sit. So if we click on that, click run, they'll sit at the top of the bars, but you can click this option to display the data labels in the middle, and that's kind of what I prefer as well. How big you want the chart size to be, so let's just update it to medium. And in terms of the decimal precision as well, so if you had decimals within your data sets, for example, then you can adjust that. In terms of the title, again, you've got some options that you can change, whether to show it, how big you want the text to be, what colour, do you want it centered on the report. Legend, again, just standard reporting customization that you might want to take advantage of. So again, as you can see, there's plenty of things that you can do, and it all depends on whether you have some standards already, whether you want to introduce some more best practice and label your axes and bring your standard colours in, and it's all a case of deciding what is best and most appropriate for your reporting standards. So that brings it to a close in terms of setting up reports. So before we move on to the next bit, let's just save this report and just make sure that we can go back to it if we navigate away. So now that the report's set up, you might want to share it with other people, and this is where ServiceNow can be frustrating because its default is to err on the side of caution. So it's not actually shared with anyone else apart from yourself. So what we do is we click this, either the share button or this little square with an arrow in it, and that brings up some share options. So if we click on share, you'll see that, like I said before, the default setting is just to have it visible to me, the creator, but you can share it with other people. So you can share it with everyone, and it will ask you if they require a role. So within ServiceNow, there are different roles that are applied, but that's not job titles or positions. Those are ServiceNow specific roles. So I would recommend not going down that road if you're not comfortable with that or you're not used to the different roles in ServiceNow. But there might be something that you might want to make visible to everyone. You also can choose specific groups, so you might have a departmental group or an approvers group, something like that, that you would want to share this with. So clicking on this magnifying glass, that will bring up some options, and some out of the box groups will show now. So there's cab approval, capacity management, whatever you've defined within those roles, but we'll just leave that for now. Or you can specify certain users. So if we click on this magnifying glass, we will choose our good friend Able Tutor and share that. So that's saved. And there's a few other options that we could show. You are able to schedule reports, and that is a function which is very similar in terms of sharing. You've got the ability to share it to particular users or particular groups, or even particular email addresses. So this could be external. And what this will allow you to do is to actually create an email with the report included, and I'll show you some of the options in a second. But this could run in multiple frequencies. So as you can see here, we could do it daily, weekly, monthly. It could align with a certain time period in a business calendar. So you've got some flexibility. The one kind of recommendation around scheduling reports is that obviously as soon as you take an export from the system, that data is out of date as soon as you've exported it. So try and amend your working practices to do as much of your work within the system as possible. But obviously there will be times when you want to schedule out these reports. And you can choose this option to omit if no records. So if you've got a report and there are no submissions, so maybe a HR profile where the location on that HR profile is the Czech Republic. If you've got no one in there and you've set that up for some reason, and it's showing that there's no records against that, it's probably likely that you don't want to send that report. So you can do that one. And then you've got some options to put what the subject will be and a basic HTML editor, like any email client. So we could just put anything here just to prove that we can do that. So you can embed other images, videos, links, all the standard things you'd expect within a email. And then, like I said before, you've got a few options in terms of what you would include within the email. So you could embed it or include it as PDF, either landscape or portrait. You could have it as an attached image, or even an image embedded within the email. So once you're done with that, you can save that, and it will run whenever you determine that frequency to be. And the other third option that we'll share at this point is exporting it to a PDF, and that is, as it says on the tin, I have a couple of options. You can export it in portrait or landscape. You can choose to send it out as an email or generate it now and download it. So you've got a few options of getting that report out of the system. And the final thing that you can do is to add it to a dashboard. We won't click this option yet because I will show you about adding to dashboards in the next video. So in terms of reports, that is how to create them, and we will next navigate back to that report list to show you where to find your report that you've just created. So I've gone back into this filter navigator on the left hand side and searched for reports, clicked on view and run, and I've been taken back to the view, the list view of the reports. So the one that we have just made is the department breakdown. So as you can see, it's coming up with some options, and you can see this report here. So, but let's just search for it. As you can see, it's coming up with a few options because obviously assets by department has got department within it, but this is our department breakdown that we've created. So what we will do here is we can click that as a favorite, and as you can see, if we refresh this, it will show us a list of all of the reports again, but if we use this little filter here for the favorite, so we click on that, and because I've only favorited one report so far, that'll show the favorite report within the list. So again, nice little bit of functionality to help you filter out those reports. In terms of everything else within here, there's some sorting that you can do in this list if you want to try and pinpoint the reports against certain tables, when they're scheduled, what type they are. But for now, that's kind of all about reporting, and I will be doing a separate video now about dashboards.